Okay, welcome back to the Jiu Jitsu Mindset. You guys are stuck with me today. Pete Deely, Professor Lucas is out there doing good things in the world, teaching and coaching. Our submission coffee remains not classified a performance enhancing drug. So if you want to subscribe to our submission coffee, go to the jujitsumindset.com. You can also join our mailing list there. We continue our streak of having amazing people to talk to week in and week out. The divine brings us wonderful human beings, and I get to learn something new every conversation. So today we have someone who's has a lifetime of experience as it relates to jiu-jitsu, and I'm super excited to talk to him. So Professor Priit Mihkelson, uh,
Mhm.
I did my best. Professor, thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, I'm happy. So yeah, one thing, just don't call me professor.
Don't call you
I'm j-
professor. Okay.
no, I'm a coach maybe, and just I'm a preet. For me, professor is an academic term, and so my mother is a longtime teacher, so I prefer coach, preet, whatever. So no professor.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll make my adjustment. I'm
Yeah,
trying to be very mindful of being respectful to all of
yeah.
my teachers that come on the show. So I like to make sure I get it right. Coach, tell us, you have a lot of your life invested in jujitsu, and it's something you travel the world. You're a very sought after teacher. It's something that obviously you've dedicated yourself to. And if you hadn't used your skills and talents and efforts to go down the road of being involved in jujitsu, where do you think life would have taken you? What do you think you would have done?
Like I said, that's why I love podcasts because they make me think and think about myself. Because yeah, so I think me being a martial artist and doing jujitsu for now 24 years, I think that's very unlikely if you consider what I did before. Till end of, we call it main school, till the ninth grade,
Mhm.
we had the athlete class. So from fourth, even from third grade to ninth grade, I played heavily basketball. We had like athlete class, so very often twice a day classes, morning, evening, and everything was in the school. Also worked with our schedule, and I played that. But I guess I'm 1 meter 83, so I wasn't tall enough to continue also in that path. I didn't know what I want to do, and also just overall, just I would probably jump back and forth here. What I'm gonna talk is
Mhm.
I think up to 30s, I wasn't even sure what I will be, who I am, what I want to do. What comes to my family, I was my mom and dad and stuff, and I have one sister, and I was always the black sheep. So my sister is pretty traditional, finished the medical school, 22, 23, married, kids,
Wow.
everything. And I'm like, I don't know, reading some spiritual books
Mhm.
into UFOs, like tree hugging things, spirituality,
Sure.
auras. So just all kind of that stuff. And clearly, I remember like sometimes a little bit over 30, I guess I got my hold on something and I went because I've done all the things. I will tell you my history. When I was 17, I started martial arts, but I've been stage fighting. I've been fighting in restaurants for money. I was an acrobatics teacher in school because we had stage fighting knowledge, how to teach people acrobatics when they're adults. So I used that method. I was a school teacher, I don't know, 5 years, you know? So I've always done something. I didn't know what I want to do in that sense. So if you ask me what I would have been without martial arts, I, I think I would have been lost in
Right.
that sense.
Can I just
So
ask you what
yeah,
stage fighting is particular? So is this for actors? Is that what you mean
yeah,
by that?
yeah,
So
stage
actors in a
fighting.
play or in a movie, you teach them how
Yeah.
to fight,
So
so it looks realistic?
yeah. So we fought in restaurants. We acted out that somebody was grabbing the waitress and then it was like slapping somebody's face. And I was like, don't do that. And then we
Mm.
fought with rapiers on the stairs in restaurants. I fought we have an old town in Tallinn, like a I don't know, medieval old town. And then I fought in streets because excursions, people are learning about history. So we interrupted them with some acting and then we fought front of them. And so I was doing that because I had a martial arts background. So I was well coordinated
Right.
and it's easier to learn. And I have to I had to try not to hit people because I've learned to mostly hit people.
Right.
And now stage fighting is more like missing people.
Sure.
So acting like you're hitting them. So yeah. And then my coach died and I was at the club, that karate club that was given to me. So I don't think that I even say that like martial arts saved me, I think,
Hmm.
because I didn't know what I want to do. I was like relationships and stuff, they didn't stay. People left and then new people came. So it was very unstable.
Okay.
So my mom always pushed me like, oh, get a job. Why you're kicking people in the head? Get a job, something. So I was like, I don't want it. I wanted that freedom. But when I finished at school, I wasn't stupid. I have a good head in that sense. But just maybe laziness, no direction. And because what comes to martial arts, I know how dedicated I can be, how like obsessive I can be. And if I have
Right.
a goal to do stuff, but I was really lost. So I would even say I cannot, it's maybe the answer you won't expect, but I think like martial arts saved me, gave me purpose,
Right.
kept me in some path. And finally, and also, I also credit my wife when I stumbled, or she picked me actually. So then my life actually got straight and really, I exactly know what I want to do. So I think even she saved me. And I was a little bit like, I don't know what I want to do and everything because I have a technical background. I finished, we call it like a technical school, like a college.
Hmm.
So I got a high school degree, and we also learned a craft,
Okay.
like a 5 years in school. So I've learned telecommunication.
Okay.
Yeah, how to fix TVs, radios, how the signal works around the world, how everything, all the spheres around the earth, how to, if I want to send a signal to America, what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I only went to that school because that school that year, I get in without any entry exams because my high school diploma was pretty good.
Okay.
And so my mom didn't allow me to go to high school because she was pretty sure that I would be just a guy in a school that has one notebook and just he writes every class to that and doesn't concentrate because she's a teacher. She's seen young men in school and they don't have a purpose sometimes. So she wanted me to have a craft and high school diploma. And because of her, also I found friends that did martial arts.
Hmm.
And then I was hooked. That was my social group. I started every day. It was like Monday, probably Wednesday, Friday was karate, and Tuesday, Thursday was Aikido. So that's what I did. I trained. And yeah, so martial arts overall, I think it was still like fuzzy road to get to the stability. And also in a martial arts world, yeah, find my path. We will talk about probably with some defensive stuff. But so yeah, so I would say martial arts really saved me and gave me purpose. And right now, also, even at this stage of my life, since 40 years old, I'm 47, it's really like I know what I have a purpose. I know what I
Yeah.
have to do. So I'm very driven in that sense and everything. So yeah, I don't know what I would be without it. So I was a mess.
It's interesting because you, as you said, like you clearly have the ability to take all of this energy that you have that might go off into different directions and then focus it when you decide this is what I focus on it
Yeah.
because you've translated a passion for martial arts and jujitsu into a livelihood, into this is the economic basis of your life. You're a well sought after instructor. You have, I don't know, seven classes on BJJ Fanatics. You
Yeah.
seem to travel the world. Those things don't happen to people that don't have the ability to focus and make that energy useful in this development. So as martial arts gave you something to organize your energy around, can I
Ah,
ask
I would,
like,
yeah, sorry. I was one job. I have a favorite job. I
oh,
think I always jokingly told guys that if I ever quit jujitsu, I will be a firefighter. That was I don't know what's with it. I don't know. But people know that also the old schoolers around Estonia, they know that because I had stages when I wanted to quit. So that I remembered. So that I always said, if I ever quit, I'm too old to quit now, obviously. But when I was younger, I was like, that was like, if I don't make it, I will become a firefighter.
yeah,
And I don't know what it was. I don't have anybody in my circle, family, close family that does, but something about that job self-sacrificing and just like a bravery. I don't know why not police or why something, just fire, just
The
firefighting. I know
firefighter.
that was my,
Yeah.
that was like, it's just something's there that will just trigger me. And
There must be some connection to because you have a very thoughtful disposition about the role of teaching versus doing, right? Like one of the things that in preparation to talking to you, you talk a little bit about, hey, just because you have a black belt doesn't mean you know anything about teaching. Those two things you demonstrated you can do something, but it doesn't necessarily convey like expertise in teaching as well. And I think of teaching as helping when firefighters, you're helping save somebody from some
Mhm.
imminent danger, right? But as an instructor, you were you're helping people, but it's your assistance gets played out over a long period of time. So those things seem linked to me. I'm curious where jujitsu becomes of the martial arts you were doing, what attracted you to focus on jujitsu more than the other martial arts along the way?
uh, that is actually a sad story because some people know me in Estonia, Priit and his 10 styles, because in a way I tried everything that was available that time. So I started with karate. My karate coach was also influenced by soft arts.
Mhm.
I think in his past he was studying, he was Shotokan. He did a lot of other stuff also. So we were influenced by different things and the soft arts, Tai Chi, Bakwa, everything were coming to Estonia, some Chinese masters, whatever. And that was a phase. And so we did karate. I also trained Aikido at the same time. I know in some phase I was a Tai Chi instructor. I actually had a group. So the teacher, I did different things, but I ended up with Mi Chuan, Tai Chi Chuan, Scott Rodell from US. That I guess his story is he's trying to put together some lineage, some ancient knowledge and whatever. So still, yeah, I think he still comes to Estonia. And then last one I think I picked because I'm the era that is influenced by Van Damme, Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, Steven Seagal, those
Sure.
all those cool guys. I really enjoyed Wing Chun, wooden dummies and stuff.
Right.
And we did something similar also, like in fusion with some karate also. So when my coach died and was upon me to do something, what's the direction we will take? So we went towards Wing Chun.
Okay.
So my first teacher was from Finland, and then some German organization pushed him out, and then Germans took place here. And then I was a second student of that's German. First one was from eastern part of Estonia, and he was a former Sambo guy.
Okay.
And he said Wing Chun is cool in stand up, but you need groundwork. I was like, okay, why not? It was Leongting Wing Chun was already like Boston Bay and all those fights, and it was like they had some ground stuff, but it was very just kicking people in a way, and it wasn't like jiu-jitsu. It was more about how to survive and somebody stand up, kick them and get up or something. And then he showed us sambo, and I know some people when they see jiu-jitsu is like, yeah, it is, I don't like it, and I right away liked it.
Okay.
I was like, it's so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I liked it. So it's just, I didn't have any, yeah, like rejection. That's cool. And what happened was we started to do, it's a very fuzzy history actually. So there's a small group started to do jiu-jitsu on a side of Wing Chun. We were just having fun and it was so much fun that Wing Chun seemed very boring.
Okay.
They're very restricted. And in jiu-jitsu, we could play, fight, really test. And Wing Chun always one have to be good guy, one have to be a bad guy. And so I also, I don't know why I don't look for conflict, but certain things irritate me. And I changed Wing Chun coaches like 4 times. And so German, I left, then I went to Denmark, then I left because Denmark went away from Germany. They had some issues, so I went with Danish guys. And then from Denmark, I went to Lithuania.
Okay.
There was Eastern European Wing Chun organization, and it was more traditional Leongting Wing Chun. The same guy was ahead of the Western one and Eastern European one, but it was just different application, different way of doing. Eastern European was more like traditional jiu-jitsu, and Western one was more like a very modernized and very, I don't know, for a quick consumer or something. I don't know. And a lot of money making. So eventually, like one thing led to another. Basically, those things are pyramid schemes in my head.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's other weird things going on. And finally, I had enough and of manipulation. of really like I had to lie to my students and everything. I couldn't show certain techniques because the instructor had to come a couple of times a year and show those techniques. So I have
That's
to,
interesting. Huh.
yeah, so I have to basically lie. And people that went to seminar, they were discouraged to talk about the seminar to other people that didn't work in seminar. So because if you tell them everything, they will not come to the seminar. So it was like crazy level of public manipulation that I had to tolerate. But my love for Wing Chun, and I still would say if I would have a bigger apartment, I will buy a goddamn wooden dummy. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But those people ruined it for
Yeah.
me. And I'm really mad at that. And it was my passion and I really enjoyed that. But they made it unbearable. And it came to 2005 in the mid-season, February. I told everybody what's actually happening behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
and we just left.
Okay.
And there were other also by then we had also bloody Thursdays. I think 2004, whatever we had every month, we had a bloody Thursday, and we put like gear on, groin protection and stuff, and we just fought,
Okay.
on wooden floors actually, and just to test Wing Chun to have fun. People were interested of self defense, and then grapplers that did Wing Chun people that did grappling on a side, they had major advantage of winning those fights.
Right.
They could just see a double leg and it works. And then they told us we have to practice some techniques for 10 years for them to work. And so you start to see like some things doesn't add up. And then again, this helped. And then the kitchen side, we call it like backstage stuff. And 2005 in middle of the season in February, I told the people everything, what happened, what I know, and how everything goes behind the scenes. And then I explained, and we left and we opened up the MMA gym, and we already did Jiu Jitsu back then. And then we just added boxing and wrestling slowly. And
Okay.
then it was, I think, second MMA gym officially in Estonia, because Southeast guys opened the earlier gym. I think we did it earlier
Okay.
than them, but they opened the earlier gym. So we had a second gym in Capitals. And after that, after Jiu Jitsu, obviously that's my specialty. And it was freedom, expression, no bullshit,
Right.
good people around, honest relationships. And then I was like, now I'm here. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought always I'm the mistake. I'm that something's wrong with me. But it turns out that if you find something and then environment is good, then I'm doing this for already 24 years.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was a very big relief to me because I'm not sometimes easy to get around, and I have my strictest and my my edges. But that was really big relief for me that it wasn't, let's say, only me, or it was the environment I was in. And I'm really triggered by bullies. So if somebody is a bully, I get super triggered. And those people were bullying me. And finally I had such a big love for Wing Chun, and I was like, okay, I have to leave because I don't tolerate that anymore.
Yeah. So it was
So
the
yeah,
business culture of Wing Chun more than
yeah,
the martial artist culture of Wing Chun pushed you out.
yeah. It
And
was not a power play. It was not a
yeah,
power
that's
play.
interesting. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, and look, I started jujitsu as a 50-year-old. I'm about 4.5 years in or 4 years in of, and one of the things that has struck me is the nature of the jujitsu community. And I'm sure there's somebody who could come and tell me negative stories. I'm sure that exists out there. But for me, all of my experiences, or I should say 99.9% of my interactions with people, you know, famous people within the community, whatever, everybody has been so incredibly open, willing to talk, not guarded about things, that I found it really interesting. So to hear that Wing Chun community looking to control
Mhm.
information, to use the control of information for business purposes, because then we can't get people to buy this type of stuff. That it's interesting to me because the jiu-jitsu community seems on the opposite side. They was
No,
looking to share as much as possible.
but it happens in jiu-jitsu also.
Oh, okay.
You have gyms that they request a mandatory you buy their gis.
Sure.
There's other stuff. There's not only one. There's only multiple associations that are like you have to buy their gear.
Mhm.
That's the only gear allowed. And
Right.
so it could be bad. Could we as clients, we have to react, and we can. So now there's so many choices to go around. And
Mhm.
if you don't like one business, but it's still, I think people, obviously it's easy money to do those key things. So just you buy and somebody just gets, and also like easy money, also like belt stuff in jiu-jitsu. The belts are getting weird. That like belt money, and then it's like people are gathered to some annual camps when some big guy gets all the money
Mhm.
just from the ground. So there is some going on, and I think as a jiu-jitsu community, we have to resist a little bit this.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so it's commercializing and a little bit still power play. I've heard, I've been around long enough. I've heard our community is not special. I think you're right that I will say like majority of my experiences are good,
Mhm.
but there's cases giving steroids to minors purposely,
Yeah.
some harassment things that has come out. And then it's people are people, and people with power, they think they have certain rights. And so in jiu community also, I think recent years have shown that I don't think we're not better than this, but I think, like I said, majority, I still have also positive relationships and stuff. But there's right now, because of internet and stuff, there's enough going around that people are careful already. And that's sad because that ruins the art we're doing.
Yeah, without a doubt. So I'm curious, as I was in preparation to talking to you, I've listened to you talk about your interest in particular, teaching about defense, and we're finding the boundaries of where is the last point in time where you can actually need to tab and looking to escape within sort of context of that. And so I'm curious to ask you about how that interest came about. And it's interesting to me when you talk about, hey, bullies are a trigger for you. And then like the interest in defense is a particular emphasis in your research. If those things have any relationship to each other, and if not, just how that interest in defense came about as opposed to always attacking, especially given when I think of Wing Chun and Shotokan and those things, I think much more assertive
Yeah.
attacking styles than I think. So it seems like you might have grew up in a culture of martial arts as a attacking thing, not necessarily just a defending self
What?
thing.
Tell me again, what does your shirt say?
Says get comfortable being uncomfortable.
But that is defense.
Well, no, I don't have a quarrel with it. I agree.
Yeah, but that's I mean
Yeah.
that's but that is one of the jiu-jitsu mantras, yeah?
Yes.
I don't
I
know who said it, like Hiro Gracie or Rickson Gracie,
yeah.
but if you take that ethos, yeah, what is the most uncomfortable in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
Then being in submission,
Mhm.
being as relaxed, as
Yes.
aware as possible, and still trying to find a way out.
Right.
I think defense is a living application of that ethos you wear on your shirt.
I agree.
And then I get that question, let's say a lot, and why I'm so invested. First of all, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was introduced as self-defense art. It wasn't self-attack, or I
Right,
don't,
right.
I don't
Yeah,
know
right.
how to
Yeah, yeah.
call it. It is self-defense. And also, let's say, maybe even fighting without fighting,
Mhm.
because you saw the Andrea Galvao and Huron Gracie match, I think,
Mhm.
very famous one when it was like one guy was defending. I'm not saying I didn't like the match because Gracie didn't come to fight. He
Mhm.
was trying to prove a point. So
Mhm.
I think sport is like we have to have sparks, we have to have our particle collider, then
Yeah, yeah,
mistakes
right. Yeah.
happen,
Uh-huh.
and then people can capitalize on mistakes. If just one guy defends, we cannot do sports. So for me, it was like, God damn it. But also, I was interested to see what happens.
Sure.
Because obviously, Gracie knows how to defend, and for me, it was a lot of good information. But so it is self defense on, and also attacking comes from comfortability of being okay. Let's say in boxing, if if you are afraid to get hit, you will not hit them
Right, right.
because they will hit you back. So if you are okay with, let's say, them guard passing you, yeah, and you're not getting stuck, you're escaping fast, you are more fierce with your attacks.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like MMA is perfect example. If you're a good boxer, you will not box because without the takedown defense. Yeah, any punch you throw, it's like you take him down. So wrestling defense is very crucial. And in
Mhm.
MMA, it's very obvious. There was a really good fight with Ramon Decker, legend in Thai boxing. I don't know if you know him. He was Ramon Deckers, I think. against Kenki Suto, brown belt jiu-jitsu, maybe probably black belt by now. And Ramon, I think you can watch that fight in YouTube. Ramon, one of the best first Thai boxers that got respect from Thais and stuff. I think that's how I understand the story. And crazy, really good fighter. He was past his prime, yeah, but he didn't throw none of the punches because of the MMA fight they had. Obviously, there could be like older age, blah blah blah. I didn't know the preparation, but again, takedown defense, and you will not punch. And so in jiu-jitsu, if you know that you try to attack, it's most likely when you shoot a triangle, they can do a leg and shoulder pass and they will smash you. And if you are afraid to get stuck in side control and that's the only try you get, you will hesitate to pull the trigger. So being that I don't mind, I will get out, I will find a way out. I'm so comfortable with defense. And then you keep trying and actually your attacks are more fierce and you have success ratio bigger because you don't hesitate. I think having a good defense, and we know, let's say Gordon Ryan has really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's also fearless, that he doesn't think you can do anything to him.
Right.
And that's why he goes after you.
Right.
So if the defense makes you fearless, and also I think it's the most demoralizing skill, because if you and me have a fight,
Right.
and I can see, okay, you have this weakness here, I can capitalize. I will find a way, give me a time, 10 minutes. I will try to capitalize on a mistake. And if I only have a one attack, like a triangle, you get a Priit, you only have one attack. But if you watch my defense and you have no flaws, you will not take on the risk
Mm-hmm.
because you will not find a way to win. So
Right.
that is the defense by definition is the most demoralizing skill. And
So
because you
does
only
this
take on the fights when you understand that you can beat the guy.
understood? Yeah. So does this come to you as an epiphany? Like you get it? Does this all come clear at once, or is this something that
No, no.
over time
As
it becomes clear to you through winning and losing different competitive situations?
obviously it's easier to talk right now, but I would just say as a coach, I guess I saw people struggle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because right away, it's literally happened in my gym. Crossface, underhook, side control, and frames. And the bottom person was escaping, the top person was resisting. We were testing things. And the guy was like, I cannot bridge a shrimp. It's impossible. And then I said, try harder. And because we saw that just if you really give the person a pin and then you have frames, those bridge and shrimps that they don't work that way as advertised. So I was trying to little bit
Yeah.
help also my students that how we do this better, because this is what you experience in your first years. It's a reason side control is called also 100 kilos and so suffering. And we have to make it enjoyable because we want people to come back.
Right.
But if they're just getting beat up and not do anything and they don't know why this is happening to them, and it's hard to go, okay, I enjoy this.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and it's hard to find systems that teach defense. We have techniques,
Yes.
but what is the foundation delivery system of a defensive system that you can plug those techniques on? But we have, okay, we're frames on our back and bridge and shrimp. No, first of all, first thing is survival. We have to stay safe from all the attacks and transitions that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will try to find a way out. I'm not actually trying to escape. I have to survive your attacks and everything. I have to be that comfortable, and a lot of actually escaping opportunities happen while you transition,
Right.
while you attack me. Yeah. So in my head, I was also maybe, I don't know, but I'm trying to reverse engineer what I did, that those were also questions that I tried to ask better, because I remember Saulo Ribeiro. Saulo was a big influence somehow to me, because he was the guy that says, you can just show your back. There's a video also in YouTube, and he did his version of Running Man, what I do these days. And he was like, yeah, it's totally fine to turn your back and nothing will happen. He's just behind you. And I was like that guy, 10 times world champion, he
Right.
says it's okay to turn your back when everybody else says it's total nonsense. And I was like, oh, if this guy vouches for that, I'm taking his word, because he's a 10-time world champion.
Right.
And he's putting his name on that.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I have an allowance to do this because he says it's okay. And then Saulo also said something interesting about crossface. Crossface, really good control. And Saulo said, I think it was Saulo, pretty sure. Like, why would you give the guy a crossface? I was like, and then we started to keep our head on a mat more, keeping the head heavy on a mat and try to protect the crossface. It's not like nobody does it, but for me, he was first. And now I think there's more games also or systems out that maybe tries to use that, not give people the head control. But he was like, oh shit, that why would give like, why would we let them connect the arms? Or even why would you, as a beginner, like a bottom person, why would you give a top guy underhook? If you try to get underhook on a wrestler, you will not get it, basically. It's a fight. And in jiu-jitsu, we just accept that it's a this and underhook and now we're escaping. No, it's a major control loss already. So a lot of those ideas started to bounce and go like something's wrong. There's so many contradictions. Why we're escaping pins?
Mhm.
Because pins are by definition the hardest to escape. Maybe there's ways to mitigate, the control and do earlier stuff. And then obviously pin happen. I have to know what to do. But I'll give you an example also. In close guard top, yeah?
Mhm.
So most likely there's some posture. You have your arms on a chest and blah, blah, blah. But your defensive idea is, as a top person, you will not give them any grips.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you try to keep them at bay and try to open the legs. Obviously, you don't start, okay, give the bottom person head control, underhook. So you got to chest close and then you start.
Mm.
It's a stage that can happen, but you start earlier. And
Right.
if you're bored, you make it harder for yourself.
Mhm.
So you start with nothing gave away. But why in side control we start typically crossface, underhook, locked arms,
Right. Yes.
and
Yeah.
then we start to
Yeah.
escape.
Right.
Is there not like a easier position that I can be in a bottom but not give everything away they need? And if they win that, okay, I deserve to be punished and get more stuck. But there has to be like earlier ways.
Right.
Also in mount, I think in mount, mostly people agree that somebody's a mount and your escaping ability starts from frame on the hips.
Mhm.
You don't start crossface underhook and
Yeah.
then go like escape. But in mount is that. So why in side control we have this? And also, by the way, in back control, we start right away with a seat belt. Understand?
Mhm.
Back control should start also without any grips, maybe outside bicep grips, because the underhook seat belt is already too specific. And I've given away a major control points that are making my defense harder. And why there's this discrepancy. In guard, we start very early, makes sense. In mount, also nice. In side control and back, we're like giving everything away and then complaining jiu-jitsu is hard. So, and why it's not unified, every position has an early one. And then we put like more grips and it's getting harder because I'm already having better success with earlier stuff. So all those discrepancies are like, it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And also, turning it back and there wasn't really a turtle information out there. So I'm lucky that I had a Swedish guy that was really way good, way better than me in turtle. So it took us like, I think 2.5 years or 2 years to figure him out because he couldn't say why he's so good.
Mhm.
So we had to reverse engineer what he was doing. And then we had Turtle because Turtle also DVDs and everything was scarce and there wasn't much Turtle information because it was badly looked upon. People said, don't stay in Turtle, don't turn your back. And we know they're all lies at the moment because Turtle has been done also recently in UFC successfully with Usman and I think Chumaev fight. Usman used straight arm Turtle. And there's more evidence. And Greg Jones talks about it more. Joseph Chen, I've talked to him personally. He practices straight arm Turtle. Greg Jones used straight arm Turtle to teach Volkanovski because he's a rugby player. If they punch, he just gets up from Turtle. So it seems to be like with punches, it's totally fine to turn your back. So why isn't that fine within jiu-jitsu?
Seems to
Yeah.
me that so it comes to the interest and the energy you put into defense comes out of a very practical sort of
Yeah.
observation that, okay, listen, like this is in fact among the most effective ways to win because it can be the most demoralizing experience. If a person doesn't have weaknesses to attack, they're not going to be then they're going to be the ones comfortable to do their own attacking. And so it makes sense to me if your intellectual breaking down of what you're observing then leads you to, if we're really great in these positions, that lays a foundation to then refine your attacking, in a sense, is what I'm hearing. Because,
Yeah, and
if you're completely comfortable and, hey, attack away because I have my defenses ready for you,
yeah,
then your attacks will be all the more potent.
everybody talks about it. Get comfortable in uncomfortable position. Let's live that ethos.
Yes, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So the submission, try to defend submissions, very late stage, very uncomfortable.
Sure. Yeah.
And also, one thing I would say, if you make friends with somebody behind your back as a worst position in jiu-jitsu, and if you make friends with that, there's nothing worse after that. Everything is easier after that. And obviously, one thing I always hear, oh, you shouldn't turn your back. Yeah, no shit, Sherlock. It still happens. If that advice that would save people, obviously, we wouldn't see any back takes in jiu-jitsu.
Right. Yeah.
So people are good at forcing the back. So
Mhm.
even if I don't turn the back, they will make this happen. We see it, you know? So it's not about me that don't show, but they make it happen. So I better know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's also, that doesn't make any sense. Don't turn your back. Yeah. But you're teaching people to force, to open the back. So
Right.
we have to know what to deal. It's not up to me all the time.
There's always different levels of intensity that depending on the circumstances, and minus an actual fight out in the street or in combat or whatever, competition often represents, for those of us
Mhm.
who are training, are the most intense moments of the application of what we've been learning. So I'm curious how you feel about the role of competition as a teaching tool. Do you feel like everybody should
Awesome.
compete, or do you feel like only certain people should compete?
No, you can say this is very philosophical. Life is competition.
Hmm.
Yeah. So we compete, and we have to get, as a young parent, you learn as a role of the dad, I have to prepare my kid for real life.
Hmm.
And this is harsh. This is competing, workforce, everything. It is. So I think it's important that we will compete. It's just a level of the stage.
Right,
Obviously,
right,
if you
right.
just do jiu-jitsu and you have to go to some nationals, maybe it's a big jump. But just rolling around and always nothing matters, you just fist and bump and you go. I think I think it's good. You want to develop something, skill and stuff, but you also have to know who you are.
Hmm.
Okay. And that doesn't mean like competing, like I said, nationals or some local competitions. That is sometimes in a gym. Let's go for points.
Hmm.
Let's go for a submission, and let's go for points. You can do also in-house competitions when the pressure is off. I think there's not spotlight, not some people watching a lot, or you don't put them in YouTube. And at the moment, we are doing like every first roll of the sparring, half an hour is roll on points. Simple one, guard pass one, mount one. Not many people know the rules, so just 1 point. And we did just ADCC rules. Turtle cancels the points and stuff. And then you're fighting because now it's not, oh, I fall over, I play guard. No, no, no. He gets a point.
Right.
So, and then you push yourself more. There's times to, obviously, I'm not saying that's bad to fall. There's time to goof around, be relaxed. But we have to lock the horns. We have to know who we are. Yeah. And what we're capable of.
Yeah.
And somebody beats you and you go, I will get you next time. So that pushes you to become better. And if
Hmm.
it's friendly, healthy, I think it's very useful is push each other because that's what guys do. You nudge and go and then you help each other. It's not menace. It's not bad.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It has both things, right? It has the intensity of you're trying to impose your will in the moment.
Yeah.
However, you're also not trying to hurt somebody. I mean, there's a safety to it. The whole
Yeah.
notion of the tapping gives you a way to be ferocious up until the point in which it becomes unsafe. I'm very lucky, right? I have great partners that my 54-year-old body does not move in the same manner that it did when I was 20. And there are just realities that I have to operate within. And then I have to expect that people will allow me to tap. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I could never achieve that sort of intensity. And I have great folks that much better than me, much stronger than me, all those things. And they allow me to go as strong as I can with intensity, while still being safe. So I appreciate what you're saying. And I think to know who you are on the mats helps who you are off the mats. I think it's a good
Yeah.
place to inoculate
And
yourself to stress.
we
Yeah,
fist bump and stuff and we helped and then you try to catch me next time.
sure.
And obviously if your pond would say gets too small, you may feel like, oh, I'm doing good in a gym.
Yeah, right,
We
right.
have some, but not every role should be competitive. We have this and, oh, maybe I go to competition because I'm already like, I'm looking for a more adversity. But from the gym, recreational, rolling around, goofing, falling, then go to competition. I think it can be very negative and you just get trashed. You don't know the rules. Everything goes super hard. You never experienced that maybe. And that could be a shock and very negative emotion. And then you hate competing.
No,
And
yeah, there has to be,
yeah,
yeah, there has to be some
incremental
sort of
stops. Yeah, yeah,
yes, the incremental would be the word I'd use.
yeah.
If I ask you, what's the most memorable fight, most memorable competition? What is the one that pops to mind? Because I'm of the opinion that those tough fights both reveal things about yourself, like you didn't know you were whatever, and then they also change you a little bit, like you're not the same for having been in that particular circumstance. I'm curious if you get anything like that comes to
I
mind.
would give you two answers. One, what I give you typically, and one, what I don't give. I haven't told
Okay.
anybody, I think.
Okay.
So I think my achievement, what I consider my top is because I was a coach and stuff, 2008, the Scandinavian Open gold. Yeah. So
Okay.
that was for me was a big thing. And that also why I'm allowed to talk about competition because I've done my share and it really helped me and it was necessary. But what's the hardest, you say, or proud? We had a super fight with one Estonian that now lives in Finland. And it was like our gym competition that we decided that we will lock horns.
Okay.
And it's hard to always compete in front of your students or they have certain image of you.
Sure.
And Martin Adma, he actually was my Wing Chun student. And he's the guy, he's the Estonian, he's the wizard. He right now lives in Finland. And that super fight, I think, was very difficult for me because I didn't think I could win this.
Mhm.
But to take it on, to perform, he submitted me also in front of everybody for the purpose of enhancing the show. And I took a fight knowing I would lose, but I tried to do my best.
Yes, yes.
And that was really difficult actually because but overall, I think it showed me, and I think it showed something to the people that are watching. It was all good fun. We're still good friends. But that I think mentally, emotionally was very hard because I consider him way above me.
Right.
Like when it comes to jiu-jitsu technically. So that was a really hard fight for me to take. But
Yeah.
for a history books, I think I had to do it.
Yeah. And to me, it places the fight in a broader context. Your intention of going into the fight wasn't to insist on, you didn't go into it having to insist on a certain outcome. If you said, if I don't win, this is a terrible experience, but that you could go in and say, I do this in the service of this broader idea and I'll do my
Yeah.
best and so on and so forth. In my mind is part of the role of when you just accept the role of teacher, you're leading a community, you're teaching more than just technique. You're teaching a lot of different things are
Yeah.
being absorbed by your students. And that attitude of what I'm doing this in the service of this broader idea, I think is
You can
admirable.
just we can yeah, we can I agree with that. We can say like this, or we can say,
It
I
sounds
just
like it.
lost in front of my students and that's it. Or we can give it to some greater meaning. Uh,
So my guess is that you could have begged off of that fight and people would have
yeah,
been like, okay,
yeah,
whatever, we're not going to do it. But you accepted the circumstance, which I respect.
yeah.
In all of these years of teaching and coaching and touching people with your instruction, like what's your favorite story of how jujitsu in particular might have really affected somebody in a positive way? You got one story that comes to mind?
Well, maybe I'll tell you the recent one. I think I hope I don't hurt anybody feeling if I don't tell their story, but the recent one is this, how I think we have affected somebody's life. One person came, right now he's our coach also, one of the coaches. So he had a decision to make from Italy. He wanted to make pro
Okay.
and fight. And he had a decision back when the BDS team was still in New York and everybody was together, Danaher team. And then he was like, oh, do I go to Estonia to train or do I go to New York? And then for some weird reason, he chose Estonia.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that, let's say it was a best decision compared to DDS. We'll see. I don't know. The choice was not made. But what has come out from that choice and what this guy has become, it's a big inspiration because he was the guy that everybody, I don't know, let's say toyed, kicked ass. And now he had a super fight a couple of weeks ago he's a black belt now. And he has a super fight back like a couple of weeks ago with a guy that now recently won the Nogi European adult black belt.
Okay.
And the super fight and our guy submitted him. So that is a major success story. The guy that chose Estonia for his dreams to become a pro jiu-jitsu guy
Right.
and our environment and the knowledge we have could get him to that level that he's making noise. And I would say it's clearly one of the best grapplers in Europe in that weight class, 77 kind of 80. And for me, that is a major success story to show what our environment and
Mhm.
some dedication, obviously, from the athlete can do. And I would say it has been life changing for him
Right.
because he only does jiu-jitsu. He lives off jiu-jitsu right now.
Okay.
So, so other stories, I don't know. Maybe somebody got some. I know some. I don't name names now, but some people used our gym to also get over from some hard life
Yeah. Yeah.
happenings,
Sure.
and they dive into that to just get away from the stress.
Sure. Yeah.
And so there is some I've here and there, but that recent competitor, Tom Manurm, so he's the recent one and he's at the moment the best Estonian grappler, competing grappler that ever lived,
Oh my
you
goodness.
know?
Okay.
And because he does, yeah, I think with result stuff, he's also passed the Martin Admai talked, he is the best competitor that has come ever out of Estonia.
Wow.
And he was not talented. We didn't have any hope for him. He was hard to coach. He was not the talented person that people will see now,
Right.
but the work, the dedication, and moving here, I guess our environment, I'm not saying me, I say our environment,
Sure.
and he has shaped him to become a fierce force in European grappling scene. And that last win, it really, I think, cemented that he's the guy. He's there.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Well, Coach Preet, a lot of people might be listening and would like to get like a taste of this instruction. They may not be able to go to Estonia to work with you, but
Mm.
there's a lot of ways that they can come and learn about the different things you have to teach. Where should we direct them? Where would you like people to go find you?
Estonia gym, Tallinn, yeah. And then obviously I'm because of my life situation at the moment with my child illness, I'm sadly not very active on my defensive BJJ site,
Hmm.
but it is changing and I will get my shit together and I will do it. So defensive BJJ, I
Okay.
think for a newcomer, there is already enough information, but with all the changes in my recent coaching, what comes to constraint-led approach and ecological, that's kind of in fashion these days in jiu-jitsu. I hope it settles and I hope the fashionism goes away
Hmm.
and we have people that actually are dedicated to that. But that's changed certain, so I have to also update what comes to the defensive BJJ. I do club tour camps. Yeah, BJJ club tours there, Iceland, Europe, everywhere.
Okay.
So I'm usually the coach that's around. Before that illness, I was doing 10 camps a year.
Right.
So bjjclubtrotters.com,
Okay.
watch the camps, see if I'm there. DVDs are there, obviously. They're new ones and old ones, BJJ Fanatics.
Hmm.
So that's my information. And yeah, I think the defensive Tallinn Fanatics Club Tour camps,
Okay.
I think and also me doing seminars. So if somebody wants to know what I do, get in contact, see where I am,
Okay.
because I seem to travel around like every weekend. And at the moment, I'm booked till basically end of June.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you're
Yeah.
well,
Yeah. So
excellent. Coach Preet, thank you so much. This is a great conversation. I appreciate everything that we talked about and thank you for agreeing to spend some time with us.
Awesome. Very different podcast than usual. Very happy that I accept your invite. So very awesome.
Yeah. No, maybe you'll come back and talk another time. I appreciate it.
I would love to.
We'll do that then. All right.
Yeah.